Good evening, I'm Emma Jane Veh and this is Television Tonga News. In the headlines, the Prime Minister discusses Tonga's diplomatic and economic relationship with China in the Legislative Assembly. The MA-60 aircraft designed for domestic travel takes its second test flight to Vava'u. And the Royal Corps of Musicians return from an international military tattoo in Switzerland. These and more stories, that and Pacific news, sports and world later on in this bulletin. Let's take a look at the news in detail. Tonga's diplomatic and economic relationship with China came under discussion in the parliamentary discussions. The Honourable Prime Minister reported to the House on his recent meeting with his Chinese counterpart during his visit to China. Kalaina Tongilava has the details.
The Honourable Prime Minister Lord Tuivano met with the Chinese Prime Minister, Deputy Prime Minister, Minister of Commerce and the Foreign Minister of China, as well as other high officials in the government. Speaking in Parliament, he said it was clear from the string of meetings that he attended that it is vital to strengthen the diplomatic and economic ties between the two countries. The second aspect is to preserve the current peaceful relations of both government and also to develop the economic activities that both countries are planning. Lord Tuivano added that other issues raised during his visit to China includes the assistance funds provided for Tonga through the government, where such funds cover various projects that have started or are yet to begin. While in China, the Prime Minister also attended a global meeting as a result of the recognition of Tonga as a leading Pacific country which strives to boost its renewable energy sector. This is under Tonga Energy Roadmap or TERM project. The global meeting focused on the climate change issues in which they reviewed Tonga's situation. Also in the economic theory of green economy, the focus is mainly in line with economic of a nation depending on the green land. In the global meeting, the Honourable Prime Minister proposed the idea of blue economy, which relates to Tonga's livelihoods. The Prime Minister told the gathering that for Tonga and the rest of its neighbouring countries, their basic form of income is from the ocean. Lord Tuivano also told the House that his proposed idea was praised by the delegation and also it was highlighted through numerous news agencies in China. The Honourable Prime Minister also told the members of the House that once the outcome and results of the meeting that he took part in is finalised, then he will submit it to Parliament.
The MA-60 aircraft, a gift from China to Tonga, will soon commence its commercial flights. The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister, Sami Vaipulu, says they're just waiting to complete paperwork on the aircraft and its liabilities insurance. He revealed this before going on board the aircraft for its second test flight to Vava'u. Fataiwhainga'a has more on this story.
The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister Sami Vaipulu says the Real Tonga Airline will confirm the schedule for the MA-60 domestic flights once it's cleared to operate. However, the MA-60 made its commercial test flight to Vava'u. This is the MA-60's second test flight to Vava'u. After this, we will then continue to sign off the lease agreement between the government and Real Tonga Airline, which will manage and operate the MA-60. The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister says with the lease agreement they will then decide on a price or cost to be paid by Real Tonga to lease the plane. This new development will help promote cheaper airfares for domestic flights. In the meantime, Real Tonga's commercial manager says there's a small amount of work to be finished before they resume their operation.
We don't have a confirmed date for the start of commercial operations for the MA-60. The airline is still finalising, from our end, the certification requirements that we need to do as an airline to operate an aircraft.
When the MA-60 commences its domestic operation, the government will then continue talks towards China's Y-12F aircraft to be presented to Tonga later. For Television Tonga News, I'm Fataiwhainga'a.
200 growers in Vava'u are working on improving the vanilla plantations on the island. The statement was made by the Honourable Minister of Commerce, Tourism and Labour, who's also the People's Representative for Vava'u's constituency number 14, Dr. William Ladu. He revealed this in this morning's parliamentary deliberations. Kalaini Tongilava tells you more.
The Commerce, Tourism and Labour Minister Dr. William Ladu says local farmers in Vava'u are working together with an overseas company called The Queen. This company is funding their work. Dr. Latu says an estimated amount of 100,000 ba'anga is being used for the recovery project to improve the sector, which used to be a major form of income for the people of Vava'u. The project also covers funding for vanilla plantations, construction fences around plantations, and looking after the vanilla farms. Dr. Latu told the House that a majority of the growers taking part in this initiative are residents from the districts of Vava'u 14 and 16. In addition, he says the drive is to restore this industry to be the main form of income for the island, as vanilla plantations and growing of Tonga and Gava are the only major source of income for the island. The Labour Minister assured the House that the Queen Company is a reliable one, and there is an agreement between the company and the local farmers. At the same time, the Ministries of Justice and Agriculture are reviewing the content of the agreement, he said. On this note, the People's Representative for Tonga Tapu 1, Akilis Pohiva, asked for government to thoroughly review agreements between Tonga and foreign companies in order to avoid the abuse and manipulation of the local people. The Honourable Prime Minister Lord Tuivano supported the stance, saying although Vava'u has its own agricultural council, such agreements still need to be reviewed. The Labour Minister agreed with the feedback and said the aim of the project is to ensure the profits made stays in Tonga. The deliberations of Parliament continued on to other issues before converting to the discussions of the Whole House Committee, where they continued deliberations on the Food Bill 2011. Reporting for Television Tonga News, I'm Kalolaini Tonglava.
Members of the Tonga Defence Service's Royal Corps of Musicians have arrived safely in the Kingdom last night. They represented His Majesty and the people of Tonga in an international military tattoo in Switzerland. 50 Tongan soldiers took part in the military event and were led by the bandmaster, Lieutenant Colonel Lord Vehala. We'll join Anasi Falekaano with the details.
Members of the Tonga Defence Service's Royal Corps of Musicians were met by family members at Whaamotu International Airport after returning home from Switzerland. The bandmaster, Lord Vehala, said Tonga's participation in the international military tattoo has strengthened the relationship between Tonga and Switzerland. We represented Tonga in the event held in Switzerland, which we also have a diplomatic relationship with. There are also many Tongan people who travel to Switzerland. Lord Vehala says a lot was learned on this trip. On this trip, we socialized with the people and learned a lot of their culture and tradition, and also shared ours with them. This success on this trip will bring another invitation for our participation in similar events. The International Military Tattoo is an annual event where many soldiers from around the world, including the Pacific and European countries, take part in.
The Ma'afafine Moifamili non-government organisation has signed an extension on their contract regarding care services and charitable work for elderly people and children. The agreement was signed this morning between the government and the Ma'afafine Moifamili organisation at its office. Anasiu Falekaona was there and filed this report.
The agreement was signed by the Deputy Secretary of the Ministry of Finance and National Planning, Tufui Faletau, and the President of the Ma'afafine Moifamili, Betty Blake. The agreement is for the extension of the organization after completing 1 year of charitable work. Under this contract agreement, we've completed care and charitable work for elderly people and children with disabilities under the age of 3 on the eastern and western districts of Tonga Tapu and some areas in Ha'apai, such as Foa and Pangai. This is a lot of work and commitment, and we're blessed to have such volunteers to do such work. Mrs. Blake says they work with town offices in the districts to select people who will be eligible for such assistance. We look at people who are aged 60 and above. We will also help people with disabilities and also people who have no one to take care for them. Last year, the non-government organization provided care services to 140 elderly people, although they had originally targeted 150. The Japan government is also supporting this project, where the Japanese ambassador to Tonga, Dr. Kazuchika Hamuro, signed an agreement as well for their support. There are other bodies contributing to the funding of these programs, such as the Asian Development Bank. Anasio Falegano for Television Tonga News.
The Tuanuku Government Primary School in Vava'o has received 5 desktop computers for the school. Television Tonga News correspondent in Neafu, Ludovico Tapueluelu, says the assistance was presented by the Minister of Commerce, Tourism and Labour, Dr. William Ladu. The donation was provided by the Easy World Cargo after receiving a request from the Tourism Minister and the Minister of Finance, Licia de Akolo. 10 primary schools in other districts have received similar assistance, but the presentation of computers to Tuanuku Government Primary School is the first of its kind, provided to the Western District. The project focuses on assisting primary schools. The Australian Defence Boat HMAS Gascoigne is in Nuku'alofa. On board the defence vessel are sailors and crew members who are here to provide community services at the Kolovai Health Centre. It's on a friendly visit to Tonga, New Zealand and Australia. Anasiu Falegano reports.
Captain of the visiting vessel, Lieutenant Commander Aaron Cox, told Television Tonga News they are doing renovation work to Kolovai Health Clinic, such as repainting and fixing the roof. Lieutenant Commander Cox said they are working alongside Tongan soldiers. The project is funded by the AusAid.
We've got 20 sailors from HMAS Gascoigne here today and 5 members of the Tongan Defence Service who are here also helping to repaint the clinic. When the call came out a couple of days ago, would Gascoigne like to be involved in such a project? We had 20 of our sailors put their hand up, which is almost 50% of the crew to have come out and volunteered to do that. Amongst the Tongan Defence Service people, one of them is an electrician, which is a skill set that we don't have on board, and he was able to help us to wire up all the electrics inside the building.
This is the first visit of the HMAS Gascoigne to Tonga. However, the defence ship usually visits the Pacific waters to distribute sports gear to the other Pacific islands.
Well, so far so good in Tonga. This is our first day. This is the first project that we've done. The sailors are looking forward, as am I, to getting out and about in Tonga. For many of them, it's their first time to Tonga, and we hope to come back more often in the future. And we've got a few events lined up over the next couple of days. One of them is the Polynesian village spectacular. We're hoping to get some people out to that and have a good time in Tonga before we have to go home in a few days.
More than 40 crew members are on board the vessel. Anasio Falegano for Television Tonga News.
Government is taking steps to draft a national plan to tackle the problem of climate change in order to mitigate this environmental problem. Local stakeholders from both government and non-government organisations are continuing national discussions on the issue. Fadai Whainga'a has more on that story.
Major planning is underway in a meeting among government and non-government organisations to draft a national plan to address climate change. Speaking to Radio and Television Tonga News, a national coordinator for Tonga's climate change project, Laiseni Liava'a says a one-day workshop was held in Nuku'alofa to educate stakeholders on the issue. Mr. Liava'a says they also highlights the need for people to join in national discussions so that they are aware of the effects of climate change. Meanwhile, an officer from the United Nations Development Programme from Fiji, Emma Mario, says Tonga is the first country in the Pacific to have carried out phase 3 of this project.
Tonga has successfully completed its first national communication through GF funding support implemented by UNDP, and has also done the same for the second national communication report, and now it's commencing its third national communication. It's the first one in the countries that are covered by the UNDP Fiji office, and for that we are very grateful for Tonga's efforts in making sure that it does a quality job in the submission of its second national communication and commencement of its third national communication.
Ms. Mario said roundtable discussions will allow stakeholders to express their opinions on the matter.
This inception phase in particular, this inception workshop, is very important because it's where we gather stakeholders, in particular the thematic working groups that are key to the main outcomes of this project, gather their views in terms of the project outputs, activities, indicators, baselines and targets, risks and assumptions, and make sure that they are validated and carried forth during the project lifetime.
The one-day program was funded from the Global Environment Facility, or GEF, through United Nations Development Programme, or UNDP.
That's the local news. Pacific is next.